rolling tumors to roaring lampooners, the Tigers on a Roll show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, Auburn family, to the Tigers on a Roll podcast. It is Wednesday, November 12th, and the Plains are absolutely buzzing. National Signing Day is wrapping up. We've got an undefeated men's basketball team and the latest straight talk from Jon Cohen on the search for the next head football coach of the Auburn Tigers. And let's start on the hardwood. Last night, the number 22 Auburn Tigers moved to 3-0 with a commanding 93-62 victory over the Wofford Terriers in Neville Arena. The theme of the night, the Key and Free show. Keyshawn Hall and sophomore Elijah Freeman were sensational, combining for 41 points. Hall had an incredible night, flirting with a triple-double, ending up with 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. The man is quickly becoming the centerpiece of Stephen Pearl's new squad. He went 3 for 3 from deep, racked up a plus 32 on the stat sheet, and Freeman led all scoring with 21 points of his own, adding 5 boards and 3 assists. And I'm looking at myself in the video over here. Forgive me for the beanie, toboggan, whatever you guys call it. This cold snap is killing me, and even with the heat on in the house, my office is still pretty cold. So I've got this thing keeping me warm. I am absolutely fitted out in the cold gear right now, but I've got no complaints because I am comfy. Anyway, Auburn's offense continues to be potent. The basketball team, obviously, football for sure, but still on basketball, continues to be potent. They topped 90 points for the third straight game. They shot over 50% from the field. But there was a note of caution from Stephen Pearl, who mentioned while they played really hard for 30 minutes, they needed to put a full 40-minute game together, and they are going to need to do that to beat the elite teams, one of which we play on Saturday afternoon. But as far as the fans are concerned, I mean, that was complete domination. The Tigers even won big on the glass, 48-27 in rebounding, and that was one of my biggest concerns coming into this season, was are we going to be able to dominate in the paint on both ends of the court? And they are saying, yes, we absolutely are, and they are rolling. But the next test, like I said, comes on Sunday afternoon when they hit the road to face Houston in Legacy Arena in Birmingham. And best of luck to them. We will all be tuned in because basketball is in full swing, and we are more proud of the basketball team than anything else on the Plains right now. And we will be keeping a very close eye on them as they get into the meat of this schedule, which I believe they've got something like 12 games coming up, and 8 or 9 of them are against top 15 teams. I mean, they're going to be going through a little bit of a meat grinder, but that is what you do early in the season to be able to prep yourself for a late season run into March. But on to the biggest story, our search for the next head football coach. I mean, athletic director Jon Cohen has been very clear, very firm on a few key points, and they are front and center over the last few weeks. Mike Gittins did an awesome job on his one-on-one, and there's been some great information coming from the AD, in terms of this search, this coaching search, which, as far as I can remember, the last few that we've had, there hasn't been a lot of transparency in all of them, and actually getting caught off guard, obviously, a couple of times with some of the coaches we ended up with. But Cohen has been great behind the mic, and a shout out to a lot of the other guys that cover this Auburn beat, getting the opportunity to kind of, direct examine him and see where his mind is on this whole thing. But Cohen, just right off the rip, was very unambiguous. I am the committee, he says. He stressed that he'll listen to the industry experts and people with good data, but he ultimately has the decision here. Like, it is going to be him, and he put that, to his credit, firmly on his shoulders, and that is something that I think, following the hiring then firing of Hugh Freeze under his watch, or on his watch, is so huge for him to do in front of the fan base and obviously in front of the media, because this is like his cat to corral, and he is going to be the one fully responsible for it. And that is a deliberate message to both the outside world and the fan base itself. Like, inside Auburn, he's putting the weight of this decision on him. And I think that the plan there is to alleviate some of this pressure that everyone's feeling about making the right decision. Don't worry about making the right decision, because John Cohen's going to go do it. And if it's wrong, I can guarantee you that he is going to fall on that sword. And in another pointed comment, which I think, again, honestly, the first time, like, in Auburn history, like, Cohen overtly dismissed the notion of external booster influence in this hire, but he related it back to Auburn in general, the way Auburn athletics works. Like, that is a total myth. Like, there are power brokers, don't exist here. And he even mentioned, it's people that are not close to Auburn and may even be in an administration of a certain other school in Alabama that have created this powers that be, power broker, booster influence, like, narrative, and they've ran with it for quite some time. Like, as far as I've been an Auburn fan since 1995. As far as I can remember, like, that has always been the conversation. Yellow fella will tell you what to do. You don't get to do this on your own. John Cohen put the kibosh on that and says, this is absolutely, I have the reins of this. This is my program. This is my athletic department. And those guys, thank you for the money. Obviously, thank you for being a booster. This is on me. It's not on you. And I'm not going to listen to what you have to say about it. And obviously, Auburn has very affluent boosters. But Cohen has made sure by way of saying that they have nothing to do with this, that there's like some stability and there's singular leadership in this search and in the way that he runs his athletic department in general, which obviously by relation is like how they run the football team as well. And I think that puts the fan base at ease. It gives adversarial programs like no ammunition to work with, because they can't keep saying that, because he's putting an end to the rumor. And I think it puts some of the candidates at ease too. Like, some of these candidates might not know any better about how Auburn works, and they hear these rumors and they might be like, oh, well, I don't want to be a part of that if that's true. Or they're coming from programs that do have a lot of meddling in their football affairs. And if they want to get away from that, if the rumors are true, then they're like, Auburn's not on the table for me. But if Cohen's like, this is absolutely not how we run this, and if you want to exit that situation that you're in, then come to Auburn, because I can assure you that there is no meddling. There's a lot of money, but there's no meddling, and there's no decision makers outside of the, of the athletic department, of John Cohen's office. And now he's aiming to have a coach in place as quickly as possible after the Iron Bowl, which is November 30th. And he also confirmed that Auburn is prepared to spend whatever is necessary. In the midst of all this buyout talk and everything like that, John Cohen says money is no object for us. He stated the price tag is what it is. That is verbatim what he said. That was in response to a question about, $10 million plus annual salary. And he also says that he's had conversations with several sitting head coaches. I mean, that indicates to me that the search is moving quickly. Cohen is very ambitious about getting this spot filled. And like the 7 or 8 coaches that he's talked to so far, like, would definitely involve people that have been on our hot board, but even some guys that like aren't being talked about a lot. I mean, 8, that's more than most people that have gone through the last week or so. They have not been posting 8 solid candidates, and the fact that John Cohen is on top of that, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out, but that is like, yeah, as I see in the comment, yeah, it's reassuring. It's reassuring, and it expands the hot board even further, and gives you some insight into who, with the cost of this next coach not being an object, then they're a little bit more accessible. There's some guys who we might have thought that were previously unaccessible. They are now accessible to John Cohen and Auburn University. So the takeaway is that Cohen has no other intention other than running a professional, singularity in leadership search for a high-level competitor who can navigate the SEC and is not going to let this perceived Auburn chaos narrative take hold over how this shakes out. But here's how I think it all shakes down. Like right now, with the caveat that these coaches, current pay wouldn't prevent Auburn from looking into them. This is how I think it goes, which is mostly in line with my hot board that I've had the last week or so. But one extra guy that we have not talked about, who would be the most expensive out of all of them. And I'm not saying that I want this guy, but he's at the end of this list. So just to start off, you got Drinkwitz. Eli Drinkwitz is a competitor. They're near the top of the SEC. He knows the SEC footprint and the intensity of what this job would demand of him. And I think he probably fetches $8.5-9 million. Like, that is what it's going to cost to be competitive. That's what Eli gets. You got Dillingham, dynamic young guy, Auburn OC experience in 2019, and he's led Arizona State to a conference title. He likely gets, you got to pull him away from his alma mater, but like $7.5-8.5 million to come to the Plains. That's not too bad when you think about John Cohen saying that there is no object here in terms of pay. We will give some guy essentially a $35 million contract. Okay, I like it. And you got Jon Sumrall, who I think is the favorite for John Cohen and a lot of Auburn fans. He's an Alabama native. He's coached at Troy. He has SEC assistant experience. But I think he's Cohen's favorite because he has that quote-unquote edge that John is looking for in this job search, or in this coaching search. And Sumrall's coming from a G5 school. So he might be a little bit more affordable. And I'm thinking that Sumrall comes here for something in like the $6-7 million range. And I think that is very feasible, and that gets Jon Sumrall in the door and obviously gives some money back to, the program itself, if that's the direction that they want to go. Obviously not going to get as close to those guys who are already at these Power 4 programs, but $6 or $7 million, that's what I think Jon Sumrall would end up being. The price tag on Jon Sumrall would be, excuse me. And then you got these next couple guys, bigger guys. James Franklin, currently unemployed, but a highly experienced candidate, proven winner at Penn State, and has the SEC experience from Vandy. I mean, he would bring immediate credibility and professionalism to this operation if he is installed, which would be a stark, contrast to obviously Hugh, but for sure Brian Harsin. And he's the first one that I think we see on this list that goes, 10 million. Like 10 million is like the low end, which is I'm thinking for someone like Franklin, and see if he can't get a position filled for like that price range. But yeah, I'm saying like 10 million a year, something like that, to get him in here. And then you got Brent Key, Birmingham native, former Bama assistant, has turned Georgia Tech around pretty quickly. And he'll be a commodity in the Southeast regardless. He's got strong ties to the region. And I think, I think low end for him is $7.5 million to get him away from Tech. I mean, but he might be another one of those guys who's fetching almost 10. Like, it could be 7.5, it could be 9. But you really don't know. You don't know till you know. But like, that is another guy who I think is going to have a lot of leverage because he is going to be such a commodity in the Southeast if he does choose to leave Georgia Tech. But here's the guy that we have not talked about, and that I don't necessarily believe in, but we have not talked about him, but he's worth mentioning now that, like, you could potentially pay $12 million a year or something like that. Dabo Swinney is in the mix as far as I'm concerned. He is this week's white whale long shot. He's a national title winner, and his status at Clemson right now has come under some questions. And Auburn would certainly have to offer something colossal to pry him away from Clemson. But I think they take a look at him, and I think that I'm estimating him to be somewhere around like 12 mil a year. And I don't know that that's the direction that Auburn wants to go, not because it's 12 million a year, but because it's Dabo Swinney. And that comes with a whole lot of baggage on its own. But that right now you're opening the door to some guys like him who are going to be costing upwards of 11 and a half, 12, 13, God forbid, $14 million a year. Depending on what happens with him, I mean, you might start hearing his name a lot more, and like with some conviction, not just the rumor mill swirling because Clemson wants to fire him. We'll see how their season shakes out, but that's the last guy on this list. I'm not even gonna get into the Jon Gruden conversation. Jon Gruden has no college ball experience. I think that he is a brilliant mind as far as his QB podcasts and things like that go. I like his work ethic and things like that. I do not think that he could come in as like an analyst. Maybe there's no reason that anyone should be talking about making him a head coach. But what do you think about that? What do you think about that for opening up the search? I mean, you just went carte blanche with getting these guys paid. And all of these guys could fit in at Auburn, but like there's something to be said about like the stat, and there's something to be said certainly about the status of the way coaching contracts are right now. And Auburn can afford it as far as John Cohen's concerned, but you do not want to be put in a position like LSU is right now. Like, they're about to go to court over getting Charles Kelly's buyout reduced after bringing him in just a couple years ago to be the guy that brings them back to the national championship. That can't be that can't be the corner that Auburn gets put in. And also I'm gonna add him to the list of guys that I absolutely do not want anywhere near this program. I think he has an absolutely terrible attitude. I think he treats players like absolute dog water. I think that he is legitimately one of the worst locker room guys on earth, and he has no real culture, and I don't want him anywhere near Auburn. But you look at what this payout costs, like he's going to be up there in the range like Dabo Swinney is. Like, he'll be like, I want $15 million a year. Don't want that at Auburn, but someone like that at that price range is certainly is feasible now, and John Cohen has made that very obvious to everyone that he is not going to let the cost of a coach's contract be an impediment to what they do as far as interviewing them and potentially hiring them. And before we get to the recap of National Signing Day, let's get a word from our sponsors. Brahma Marketing is your one-stop shop for everything from signs and apparel to high-impact vehicle wraps. As a certified 3M graphics company, they guarantee quality and durability. They've partnered with Graystar Real Estate, Prisma Health, HD Supply, and more. Stop blending in and start standing out. Visit BrahmaMarketing.com to get started on your next project. War Eagle from the Orlando Auburn Club. Are you an Auburn alum or fan living in the Orlando area? This is more than just a club. It's your official connection to the Auburn family right here in Central Florida. The club hosts watch parties and networking events for past, current, and future Tigers and their families. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and online at orlandoauburnclub.org. Had to get a sip of water there. All right. We're not going to get too deep into the weeds on signing day, but we will take a look at the classes that a lot of our fall sports signed this morning and this afternoon. Volleyball adds 4 talented players to their roster. Softball adds 6 heavy hitters. Soccer stacks up 6 signees, and men and women's golf add 3 each. And equestrian is the big one, who, by the way, just went from the 3rd to the 2nd spot in the national in the poll after defeating number 2 South Carolina. And Auburn equestrian brings in a massive haul of 12 athletes. What a day for those programs to reload their rosters. And congratulations to all of the athletes on signing with Auburn today. We already love you. Wearing the orange and blue is an absolute lifetime achievement. There's no question about that. I wish them nothing but the best on their transition onto campus for the semesters that they are respectively enrolled in. And we will obviously be covering them in the near future because they are coming to programs who are on a roll and who are in the hunt, as they always are, for championships, whether it be conference, national, or just winning the day. But congratulations to them, and congratulations to those teams for putting these classes together. It means the world to these programs to stay competitive. And in the meantime, we're getting close to it. Tune in to the volleyball game tonight at 6 Central, 7 Eastern, as they take on Texas for their senior night. And if you're in Auburn, get over to Neville Arena and get your Auburn volleyball calendar from today's giveaway at the game. We will be back tomorrow with more updates on the recruiting trail and any new twists in the coaching hunt. Until then, keep the faith, and as always, War Eagle.